Greetings everyone and welcome to this edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal International. We'll begin with our top stories. As the rainy season looms over Douala, the risks of flooding surges exacerbated by clogged drains and neglect. Short, heavy downpours have submerged streets and homes in the past days, prompting urgent calls for environmentalists from government to take urgent actions. And the mayor of the Douala 5 municipality has issued directives calling for the immediate disinfection of all sale points in flea markets, while some flea markets have been proactive in adhering to this directive. Others remain unaware of its existence. And the chief of Kong in the Central region has allegedly committed suicide in a hotel room this Thursday morning. Surprisingly, his lifeless body was discovered while hanging. Those are major stories. Details right ahead. Good evening once more and welcome to this edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal International. As the rainy season looms over Douala, the risks of flooding surges exacerbated by clogged drains and neglect. Short, heavy downpours have submerged streets and homes in the past days, prompting urgent calls for environmentalists for government to take actions. More in the following story.
Quand je nettoyais la maison, j'ai vu l'insecte, j'ai appuyé l'insecte. Je vois ça sent un peu comme le sang. J'ai demandé, ça m'a dépassé.
In the bustling streets of Douala, debris-filled drains and culverts are a common sight. In neighborhoods like Bilonge in the Douala 3 Council area, drop of rain sparks panic as residents brave for potential floods. Look over there, we are still in the dry season, and that drain is full with bottles and waste. Imagine when it starts raining heavily, how will it look like? The drains are cleared of waste, but dumps by the side, and when it rains, everything goes back into the water, causing floods. With the rains 5 days ago, my home and the whole neighborhood was flooded. We live in water. Most often the drains are abandoned like here, and when they want to clean them, they clean by the wrong areas and leave the areas that are filled with all sorts of waste. And even when they clear them, it's done by the side. Imagine the consequences. Everything goes back into the drains, and there is flood. Adding to municipal neglect, observers also highlights the rampant disregard for civic responsibility among the population. The accumulation of refuge, including mud, bottles, and plastic waste, further compounds the risk of flooding. Urgent appeals resonate from experts urging immediate action to clear existing drains and, where necessary, construct new ones to mitigate the impending threat.
Les caniveaux sont pleins de bouteilles plastiques vides.
Almost all the gutters at this moment are filled with waste, bottles, mud, sand, meaning they have not been cleared before the start of the first rains. When it starts raining heavily, the whole area will be flooded. Part of the blame goes to the population, who virtually dump dirt in gutters and drains. And when it rains heavily, there is flood everywhere. That's why we're insisting that the councils could make use of youth involved in environmental projects to clean the gutters, and they are paid for it. That's what happens in most countries. With the immediate onset of the rainy season, inhabitants of flood-prone areas have issued a distress call to municipal authorities. The plea is clear: proactive measures are imperative to avert a catastrophe. And the mayor of the Douala 5 council area has issued directive calling for the immediate disinfection of all sale points in flea markets, while some flea markets have been proactive in adhering to these directives. Others remain unaware of its existence. More on our student journalist on internship, Christy Ayari.
Quand je nettoyais la maison, j'ai vu l'insecte, j'ai appuyé l'insecte. Je vois ça sent un peu comme le stand. J'ai demandé, ça m'a dépassé. J'ai demandé que au voisinage, mais c'est quoi comme ça? Ils m'ont dit que non, c'est un truc qui prend le dehors, on appelle punaise.
Chairs, mattresses, and carpet are just a few examples of goods that can harbor bed bugs, as a prevalence has become a concern in Douala 5.
You have to go in front of every house to sensibilize the population that every person should have take care of that disease. We sensibilize the population, and those houses who are infected, we are working there. We are trying to disinfect it.
However, to comply with these directives, several flea markets are taking necessary precautions to disinfect imported goods before placing them on counters.
And once the item arrives in Douala, we have a company, specialized company, Douala Made and Cleaning Services, who take care of everything. They clean, they disinfect daily. We have 2 staff only for that, and we have a special product also for disinfection.
J'ai pas eu la nouvelle que vous venez m'informer là, j'ai pas encore eu cela.
I am not really aware on the information. They haven't yet come here. But for time to time, I always try to clean the environment.
Donc, ce n'est pas encore là, mais nous, de temps en temps, ça que vous allez voir, c'est très...
Different households have been urged to register for the disinfection process. Strict measures have been put in place for any individual or business who violate the disinfection requirement will face severe sanctions.
3 reports of missing children per month. When these numbers are combined, it totals around 60 alerts of disappearances every Thursday. Their children in the hands of God. More in the following story. In Douala, as a mother leaves her home for work, she entrusts her child to the protection of God. This sentiment, born out of resignation and desperation, is shared by many parents who feel powerless in the face of the increasing incidents of child disappearances.
We
put our children in the hands of God because He is the only one that can protect our children. And when we leave them at home, they go to school. When they return from school, they are bound to stay with the older ones. Beyond relying solely on spirituality, preventing child disappearances requires open dialogue with children, experts have warned. It's imperative for parents to communicate openly with their children about safety measures and potential risks they may encounter.
Je dois d'abord remettre mes enfants entre les mains de Dieu.
I put my children in the hands of God because He protects. Advise women who send out small children to sell on the streets. That's how they are being kidnapped.
On peut kidnapper les enfants.
C'est seulement le suivi.
We simply need strict follow-up from school to home. Ensure their safety when they are out of campus. We need to also reinforce our spiritual life.
Le côté spirituel.
However, amidst this backdrop of fear and uncertainty, security sources reveal a troubling trend. Some cases of child disappearances are orchestrated by parents themselves as a means to push their partners. This type of disappearance, followed by domestic disputes, is alarming, more common than kidnappings for ransom. When Papa is out for work, what you should do is stay indoors. Don't cross the fence. In the wake of these revelations, communities are urged to remain vigilant and proactive in safeguarding their children. While faith may provide solace, it cannot replace the importance of communication, awareness, and proactive measures to ensure the safety of our most vulnerable members. The chief of Kong village in the central region of Cameroon has allegedly committed suicide in a hotel room in Yaoundé. Though he was sick, he was showing signs of getting well and had planned to return to the village this Thursday morning. Surprisingly, his lifeless body was discovered while hanging. Haisencha completes that story.
They gathered with watery mouth to watch the unfortunate incident this Thursday, March 21st, at the Manguier neighborhood in Yaoundé. The third-class chief of Kon village, Ngambechika subdivision, Mbaman Kim division of the Central region, allegedly taking his own life by hanging in this hotel. Alerted of the situation, the divisional officer for Yaoundé 1, Haruna Nyanji, rushed to the scene to take stock of what transpired.
Il avait quelques soucis de santé, bien connus de la famille, et il a intégré cet hôtel depuis 2 jours.
He had health challenges, as indicated by the family. He has been in this hotel for 2 days. He called the wife this morning. He called the nephew as well, and they were preparing to return to the village. After a while, the wife started calling again to no avail. The nephew rushed here, and together with the hotel workers, they had to forcefully open the back door, saw his lifeless body in a position of hanging.
Ils sont passés par la porte arrière pour constater qu'il était dans une position de pendaison visible.
The elements of the Yaoundé 1 Brigade and legal medical practitioners have also been in the hotel room to establish the circumstances surrounding his death. The supposed suicide spot has equally been disinfected by sanitary agents to prevent any form of contamination.
The long-awaited inauguration of the Yupwe, a fish market in Douala, Cameroon, faces a significant hurdle as a dispute over the ministerial decree governing its organization and functioning remains unsolved. This deadlock, driven by contentions between the Douala City Council and decree's provisions, threatening to delay the market's opening, impacting the livelihoods of over 500 eager fish dealers awaiting access to the new facility. Gladys Amodibang completes that story.
Months after its completion, the inauguration of the Yupwe fish market in Douala, Cameroon, hangs in limbo, overshadowed by a contentious dispute over the ministerial decree that delineates its organizational framework. While anticipation runs high among fish vendors eager to commence operations in the new market, the reality is marred by a deadlock stemming from conflicting interests.
On est pressé. On a même peur que nos anciennes places là, on va prendre pour donner aux boss.
We are ready for the market because every person has done all the formalities. So it is only the opening of the market that will give place for the sellers to enter inside.
With over 500 traders vying for limited space within the new market, tensions rise as concerns mount over the decree's provisions, which are perceived to favor only a fraction of the existing trader population.
As you are a trader, long in a particular place, the names come according to the first and the last. We did not pay any money, but we did our normal formalities that you have to pay your pallet. Pallet means you have to pay the dues of the market.
The stringent criteria for obtaining shop or store spaces exacerbate the situation, posing a significant challenge for those seeking to transition to the new facility.
The problem is that when we leave the old market and come here, we were about 400 to 500 business people, but now that I've made new market, we cannot have up to that amount of place. We have only like, we can say 200 and something. Then the other people will do how? So we don't need to go while others are crying behind.
At the heart of the impasse lies the contentious management structure outlined in the ministerial decree. The Douala City Council stands in opposition to key aspects of the decree, citing discrepancies that undermine the interests of local traders. Amidst calls for a consensual resolution, a formal request for the suspension of decree execution adds further complexity to the situation, prolonging the uncertainty surrounding the market's future.
As the April 30th deadline draws near, officials of the Center External Regional Tax Office are also multiplying sensitization strategies for the annual online declaration of personal income. The focus of a two-day training session with fiscal agents and accountants to accompany the taxpayers and the mission of this Thursday in Yaoundé. Beatrice Ngamo reports.
Taxpayers have until the 30th of April 2024 to file in their annual online returns. This personal income tax declaration is a legal obligation and social responsibility. Efforts for better comprehension of the ongoing tax code and its accompanying engagements at the forefront of sensitization this year.
When you have not declared, you have a reminder notice. After the reminder notice, there can be other letters with a forceful recovery action. But for this year, we are in the sensitization campaign. We will emphasize, we will work with taxpayers, we will work with agents, with accountants to accompany our taxpayer. So that by the 30th of June, we will have all taxpayers that we are, who will have done the annual fiscal return declared.
2 training sessions were organized in that light by the Center External Office this Thursday in Yaoundé. The measure in place by the state and implemented by Finance Ministry through the Directorate of Taxation is to fight against fiscal fraud. As individual gets rich, it is but normal they contribute to the improvement of their heritage. The interest is also transparency for a just fiscal system. And finally, it is the optimal mobilization of resources, available revenue to finance development projects in the country.
And the Higher Institute of Health Sciences in Douala has called lecturers on health sciences on the importance of quantitative research techniques, of their significance and applicability in the arena of healthcare. There have been a tremendous increase in the number of research in health science studies undertaken using qualitative methodology. Our reporter, Saleh Sherifa, tells us more.
These lecturers of health sciences have been drilled on the foundations and practices of qualitative research methodologies in health sciences and learning strategies for the development of student skills.
We see the world has something that should be constructed by the researcher. Then we have to use qualitative research. So we need our participants to be more skilled in this aspect of quantitative research
in order to change how we are doing research. In order to sustain our students and also those who are helping those students in order to do research. So there are some techniques that we need
in healthcare. Qualitative research is widely used to understand patterns of health behaviors, develop behavioral health theories, explore healthcare needs, and design interventions. There have been a massive increase in the number of health research studies undertaken using qualitative methodology because of its satisfactory applications in healthcare.
It was important for our lecturers, for our teachers, to improve their competencies in research methodology as concerned qualitative approach and in university pedagogy.
This is an initiative of Adventist Concerned Day University in Douala to boast the experience of their lecturers in the Department of Health Sciences.
Today, we have been trained to use and to emphasize mostly on the indirect method. The indirect method, which is the new approach, which puts at the center the learner.
The 4-day workshop, which took place in Douala, ended with a practical session marked by the award of certificates to participants.
And Greenpeace Africa has called on all to make use or to make a duty in conserving trees and the environment as the only means of fight the fast rising climate change. The call was made this day in Yaoundé as Cameroon joined the global community to commemorate the International Day of the Forest. Hysen Cha reports.
Stop cutting trees in our forest. Give a chance to the forests of the Congo Basin are some of the messages preached to these students and other actors during this conference organized by Greenpeace Africa as they commemorate the International Day of Forest.
C'est clair que l'année 2023 a bien été désignée comme
Weather forecasters have announced that this year will have strong winds in March, April and May. We equally had a peak in the climate change in 2023. Today, we are calling on students, teachers, researchers, indigenous population, and all the other actors to get interested in the new train of finding solutions.
S'intéresser davantage à la question.
Placed under the theme Forests and Innovation, New Solutions for a Better World. The forum, this March 21st, was an occasion to reactivate some young ambassadors to step up advocacy on forest conservation and the protection of the environment as a whole.
A group of children who originated from the forest, and from our origin we saw the importance of the forest and we decided to protect it. And our own means of protecting this environment is by planting of trees. So my message today is that to every young person out there, whether young or old, you should do something to help our environment. And that only thing that we could do as a whole is by planting of trees. Just one tree that each person plants every day will go a long way in protecting our ecosystem.
The population urged to fight the rising climate change by preserving the natural environment.
And the Minister of Forestry and Wildlife have today planted 500 trees at the site of the Yaoundé-Bankolo landslide incident as a way of preventing future catastrophe in the area. And that is how we saw in this edition of the Primetime Newscast, the English language on Canal de International. Thanks so much for watching. Take the same rendezvous tomorrow, same time. Good night.